आपसे मॉनिटर है ना आज? मॉडरेटर में मत हाँ sorry हाँ.
As a European Ahmadi, I still find it increasingly difficult to understand why the Asian Muslims, particularly those in Pakistan, treat Ahmadis and other minority groups in such an appalling and often inhuman manner. I make particular reference to the recent death of Mr. Riyaz Khan in Shabakata.
You see, this is an attitude which is bred into them by their ignorant clergy. You know, those so-called fundamentalist mullahs, they have no knowledge of the Quran, they don't understand the philosophy of the teachings of Islam, they never refer to the conduct of the Holy Prophet ﷺ for issuing such violent edicts. Instead, they, traveling in the direction of the beginning of Islam, they stand midway, and that is why they are called medieval Muslims. They share the time with us apparently, but their minds, their attitudes are all rooted in the medieval ages between Islam and now. The period when politics influenced these ulama so much so that a king could have an edict issued in his favor and Islam could utilize it as an handle. And this is, no religion is an exception to this general trend. Phases came in the history of Christianity where the same thing happened. In England, in Spain, everywhere, where religion was exploited by politics. And when this happens, then unfortunately the religious concepts are distorted permanently, because once you have the abuse of these religious powers, you can't say that we have done it exceptionally for ourselves. You have to misinterpret religion, you have to distort the teaching, and once it is distorted, then it is handed down to the future generations as such. So the violence grows upon violence. Taking their lessons from one edict of the medieval past, they say, well, we have this right, and if we have this right, we have that right as well, why not? So practically the trend is to create demigods in religion. And this is also a kind of idolatry. Idolatry is of two types. One mentioned in the Holy Quran regarding your bowing your head to others who are not gods, and the other type of idolatry mentioned in the Quran is that you bow your head to your own wishful thinkings and ambitions and so on and so forth, and make it your God. So these mullahs make their own ulterior motives and the desire to be supreme and share authority, remaining outside the power, yet have something to do with authority. They have, these distorted edicts as their weapons in their hands, and they wielded these swords to scare the government in power, but only to get more licenses for themselves, so that they could rule, or they could act as if they were gods over the innocent people of Allah. Those who bow to them and their opinions, they say, this is they're excellent Muslims, Those who dare to disagree, edict is issued that they are disagreed with Islam. So any disagreement with a mullah becomes a disagreement with Islam. Now this can be demonstrated very easily. There is no need for any further proofs of this, that this is exactly what happens, because in each sect there are special codes and doctrines which they follow and which makes that sect distinct from other sects. Now whenever they have power, regardless of whichever sect or followers of whichever sect disagree with them, whenever they have chance, power or political atmosphere promotive towards it, they use their power as viciously against others as they have been doing against Ahmadiyyat. So it's not Ahmadiyyat that they have singled out. It is only exploitation of distorted views of religion which they use at will. Now when those who follow them defy Islam, violate the principles of Islam, they never rise against them as long as they are behind them. They can murder, they can commit fornication or adultery or abuse the rights of others or child abuse or abduct children and ask for money. You know, all that is going on under every mullah sect, under every mullah and his sect. They don't give call for a holy war against these things. That obviously shows that their loyalty is not with God at all. They are not loyal to God or godly values. They are only loyal to their own supremacy. And that is the worst type of idolatry. When you act as God, you play God, and you are so stupid and so ignorant, you have no knowledge of the world at all, and you are not decent people yourselves. So this is the creation of the worst type of idolatry. Otherwise, if you bow to a god of stone or something, statue, at least it has no power of harming you. But these idolaters who worship themselves, they have only the negative values. So this is why I call it the worst type of idolatry. We have seen just one expression of that exploding in what was the place? Shabkhada. But it happens from here and there, and the ultimate reason is only that when they find themselves defenseless against the arguments of Ahmadiyyat, then they have recourse to this. That's in fact an admission of defeat, looking at it from another angle. Please.
I want to ask you another question briefly, if I can, please.
Yeah, please.
It's about my child.
Yes.
About academically and about
Right.
learning Arabic.
Right.
You know, what I've been doing this last 6 months or so, I've been making my boy, which is 6 years of age, go to learn Arabic every day.
Right.
Now, somebody told me I'm pushing my boy too much.
Yes.
And I also am pushing him academically as well as that, you know. I'm just wondering, am I pushing him with the Arabic and his academic?
You see, this is a question which is vague, and I don't know all the factors involved, so I cannot answer this question. I can only discuss in principle that in every form of education, in secular education or whatever education you call it, you have to push your children to a bit, for a bit, for a while, to a certain degree. And without that the children will refuse to go to school. You have to do some pushing, but a moderate pushing which does not injure their psyche, does not destroy their self-confidence and self-respect. So that sort of pushing which goes over the edge